Hello, hello, everybody. How is everyone doing tonight? Technically, this is goblin music, but hi. Hello, hello, hello. He's scary. What do you mean he's scary? Oh, too loud? Fine, fine. Let me turn myself down a bit. Is that better? Sorry, I will turn it off. I'll turn it off. My B, my B. I thought it'd be fun. But you don't agree, and that's okay.
I won't do it. I won't do it. No, it's too late. Not doing it. It's been requested I don't do it because it's hurting people's ears. Why was I abstracting? Because I was having fun. But it is what it is. How's everybody doing tonight? I'm such a good doggy. Happy. No. It wasn't a fact. It was a filter. Let's have a little fun, as we do. Yes. We're all drunk as fuck now. Well, then go be drunk. Go. Do you be your drunk thing? I'll let y'all have your drunk experience. I'm probably not the best company right now for your drunk asses. And why are you covered in paint? Why are you covered in paint, huh? Here, let's see. How about we do this? I think this might be more the vibe. There we go. Fun. What was that? Oh, is everything breaking right now? There it goes. Okay, everything's working. Are you doing your villain shit right now? Not really, no. I just thought it'd be fun to fuck around with filters. It's late at night. Robin, nothing's... Honey Bunch, Robin. I need you to take a few seconds. Okay? I exist. That's what's happening. Let me exist! That's what I'm doing. I'm just existing. I'm just vibing. I'm just having fun, okay? I don't need to have judgments over it. Just some upsetting things were said, and it was just very frustrating. It hurt my feelies, but I dealt with it. I got in my feels, okay? It happens. Even to the best of us. I like the vibes. Where's my jack-o'-lantern costume? Do you have a costume that's just an entire jack-o'-lantern? That's wild. Like a suit? Or you just like wearing a Y'all, if y'all want to cry, you can cry. What do you mean I interrupted your crying? Go cry, Pinky. Go do it. Just, go cry. Get in your little corner. Get in your little frog corner. Get on your lily pad and sob. I don't mind. You can do whatever you want, baby. But no, it was handled. And then, finding out about parasocial shit when it's just like, come on. Chat, I'm sorry to tell you this, chat. I have to break this to you right now. You can't fuck me. You can imagine, but you can't fuck me. I'm sorry. All right, Keely, you enjoy your milk. It's just, frustration of having to deal with it, where people are having friendships and they're like, oh, Gene, I totally want to be friends with you. And then later on, I find out that they have just been trying to have sex with me the entire time. I'm like, ooh, baby girl, I get it. Trust me, I do. But like, yeah. You can't fuck a voice. Oh, nothing, Ulrika. You're okay, sweetie. I don't mind the flirting at all. And I like hanging out with people. And I like just having fun. But it's fine. It's fine. Hi, Keeper. How you doing, sweetie? It is what it is. I'm used to it now. Just wanted to have my little vent piece. Okay. I'm doing fine. That was it. No. Besides that, that's all I needed. That's all I needed to get out of there. So if your intention of watching me is not because you enjoy my streams, and it's something else, then may I suggest there are other streamers who will. I'm doing fine. Exactly. But I'm doing very well right now. Now I am. I do like the creepy stuff though, and this creepy music. Did I ever tell you all that I was writing a full-on novel, right? I'd listen to a song like this on repeat for ages. Now, you know what I'd listen to? Okay. I'm gonna show you the song that I used to listen to while I was writing. Yeah? It was this. And I don't know if it's gonna come across, but we're gonna see if it does. And you hear how it moves? Can you hear the movement? I listened to this for like 5 hours while riding, on loop, repeatedly, with the audio moving, constantly. That's all I listened to for 5 hours while riding. And it worked. Oh my God. This just hits something so amazing. I do love Jack. Have you seen his like animation stuff? I haven't seen it. Like, I know it exists, and it's endlessly on my list to see all the different animation stuff he's done. And like, some of it's really fucking dark, but like, you know, maybe we need to see it sometime. Can I make a song request? You may make a song request, does not mean I'm going to fulfill it. What happened to him? I mean, I don't know. Enjoy your cry, Pinky. Have a good cry. That's on my list. You know what I hate, chat? You can't see my shoulders do a little wiggle wiggle. You can see me go like this side to side, but I can't see them go up and down. There's no shoulder tracking. How do I pay for shoulder tracking? Scott Sire. Electrifying my 2020 core. Do. Yeah, let's try it out. Sad song. Sire. Oh, it cut off 2 letters. What were the other 2? Did you mean to type more letters? Oh, no, it is just Sire. All right. Let's see what the vibe is. Vibes. All right, chat, I'm ready. Let's be sad together. Nobody likes the picture. Oh, God, can I talk about that? Can I talk about that while we're doing this? Actually, we're going to take my hands off. Oh, God, Shay, somebody stole... Fuck. There's no hands. Throw them away. Put them away. They're gone. Don't worry about it. It's fine. They weren't... Nothing. So, chat. Okay, so... I did graphic arts for a while, right? Like, I went... to high school. You know, high school, I took 3 years of graphic arts, which, by the way, you don't have to be able to good at art to do graphic arts. Just saying. And I would, like, do these crazy little projects where I'd, like, take materials and I'd, like, Photoshop them into shapes and then make plants and stuff out of them and, you know, Photoshop. And I've spent hours on this one piece, okay? So many goddamn hours. And everyone's like, oh yeah, that's cool. Wait. Okay, I remember the Call Me Carson line. Sorry. So I did this drawing, right? I did this one thing, and I spent a lot of time on it. Everyone was like, yeah, that's pretty good. I did this one thing that took me like 5 minutes. Be like, oh my God, it's so amazing. How do you do that? Teach me how to do that. Do you know how annoying that is? Do you know how incredible annoying it is to be like, the thing that you spent so much time on, nobody likes, but then the thing that you don't spend any time on, people are just like, oh my God, that's so amazing. I mean, I can't be the only person that happens to, right? Or am I? I'm just gonna hide back here. It's fine. I'm just gonna, you know. Perfect. Okay. Now I want to take a look at something. Let's see. There it is. Your shit posts get the most love. I know. God, it's so frustrating when you put so little effort into something. And you know what that made me realize? I need to put less effort into things. That's right, chat. So you know what? From now on, we're coming at these streams with zero effort. No energy. This is going to be me all the time. We're going to put a filter on my screen, and I'm just going to exist here in space and talk. I think it'll do well, right? But I will complain about one thing. I get so annoyed about people who are like, I put so much, like, okay, so I'm 50-50. Okay, hear me out, right? Art is incredible. I love art. And people are like, oh, I made this Twitter post and it got no likes and I spent so much time on this art piece. But like, y'all know what Twitter is for, right? It's to try to sell yourself and your brand as a person and make people like want to interact with you. It is parasocial, fucking caramelized into a little thing and then shot into people's veins. So if you post an art piece, people don't care because there's nothing for them to interact with. Unless you make an art piece or you have some type of caption or something that promotes interaction. Going onto Twitter and posting your art is like, you know, going on to fucking YouTube and just posting selfies. It's not the platform for it. It's just posting art. It's and like the people who like get clicks are the people who create things that associate with other things that people already like, because it gets that parasocial thing going. That's why Twitter's hard. Because I mean, if I make one post for TikTok, which is what I do now. Hi, cat lover, how you doing? If I make one post for TikTok and it does really well, I post it onto YouTube, it's just not gonna go somewhere. What? No, don't delete Twitter. I love Twitter. Twitter's great. It's for like, it's your brand page, you know? And if your brand is just art, then sure. But like, the thing is, if you're an artist and you're posting on Twitter, it should be about you, the artist, not the art. Because it's your portfolio. It's trying to show off who you are, not your art. If you're posting on YouTube, the point is to make long-form content. I'm doing all right, cat lover. Long-form content that people can watch for a long period of time. That is what YouTube is. To make people click from one thing to another thing, to another thing, to another thing, to another thing. Hi, Rika! And, you know, work on that. TikTok, the only goal is to give you something quick to look at and scroll next one. Next one, next one, next one, next one. Every platform has its own purpose. And if you get upset that you're using a platform for its not intended purpose, then, like, you know, I'm sorry. You can't rely on luck or algorithm to pick you up for that. And that's, yeah, I do love TikTok. The whole entire point of TikTok is just scrolling. And it's so goofy and it's so, you know, brain rotty. It's good for what it tries to be. It's amazing at what it tries to be, actually. I don't know. What do y'all think? Am I crazy? Am I stupid? What's this button do? Oh my God, it's the book. Ah, it's the book. What's the book say? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, what about... Okay. Book says you're a bitch. Oh, stars. Wait, what's this? I don't know what that does. Let me try this one. Oh god, I'm gone. Help! Help! Sorry, I'm back. Ah, my ears! Um, Chat, what do I do? what, what do I do? Where'd they go? Oh, what the fuck? Okay. Oh, shit. Okay. That was fuck. Oh. Now I know why that button is blue. I should make that button red. That was terrifying. I was so scared, chat. Whew. Big McAfee. You know, everybody keeps giving me saying happy McAfee or wait. Excuse me. Where is it? Where is it? Let me look at the text. Is that your text there? No, so Calypsy. Hello, Calypsy. Thank you for the... Hi, Calypsy. Thank you for the raid. We're just... There's no fucking way you won it. There's no fucking way you won. Are you cheating? Did you... Hey, I can't see... Stop it! I can't see past this. Give me a second. Okay, now I can see. It's a fucking... Hey! Really? Well, Calypsy, from back here, hi, thank you for the raid. I hope you had a good stream. What were you doing? Was it fun? Was it a good oh, okay, thank God. Oh, damn it. Fucking... Okay, well, you know, I'm just gonna... I just can't see. It's okay. I hope you're still there, Calypsy, if you're still here. Hello, Calypsy. What'd you stream? Was it good? Hi, everybody. I'm a villain. Well, I'm working on becoming a villain. And, yeah, my name's LuckyJene. I'm a gambler, a writer, a flirt, and, occasional alcoholic. But don't tell anybody, especially not the mods. They keep telling me to drink less. You gonna come in like that, Calypsy? Really? Fine. I'm such a good doggy. Happy? Congrats on winning, by the way. See how you attracted a demon girl? I don't know why. I don't have a soul. There's nothing left for them to take. I'm sorry. Dazzy, I was talking to you. Get back here. What did you say with the Big Mac? Nap time. Nap time. Good. I'm such a good doggy. Fuck you. Oh, thank you for the follow. I really fucking... Okay, we're just gonna wait here for a second. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I can't see. You know, whatever. It's... There we go. Okay, we're back. Hi. Good to see you. But thank you for the follow. Really greatly appreciated. What am I listening to? Oh, geez. That was a lot. What up, baby hotline? There we go. But when we did get raided, like, I don't know, 3 hours ago, Keely, where were you? What were you playing? Calypsy, speak to me. Calypsy? I can't find your name on here. Wait, there it is. Calypsy, what were you playing? Stop moving. Apex Legends. Ooh. Wait. Apex. Oh, no, there it is. Apex, huh? Why Apex? Was it fun? Did you win? What do you like about Apex? Because you're a simp for Apex? For Apex? Huh. I mean, hey, I guess it's something. Oh, Calypsy's already been stuck here for a while. Surprised you haven't noticed. okay, fine, they are hot. I may have seen some, educational video. God, I used to have a friend obsessed with that game. It's all he ever played. But he also, like, never talked to his stream when he played it. And he was like, why does nobody watch me? Because you don't talk to your chatters, my guy. Oh, the music's too loud. 1 second. Exactly. See, that's why I used to play Rainbow Six Siege all the time. Because, like, first off, the community used to be good. Now it's mostly racist. But it used to be so funny. It was so goofy. Like I used to love the community, and people would always, simp for my voice, and people were chill, and the vibe was nice, and like I had to have fun. And then you die in Siege, and you still can use the cameras, so you never feel useless. It was a great game. I loved it. I also I might have drank a lot when I played that game, so not the best thing for my health, but it was fun. Made a lot of good friends. I know none of them now, so I guess they weren't the, yeah. Who needs a liver? Surprisingly, you do, and I do. Mirage is aptly named because men that hot IRL don't seem to appear when I get near do you approach men and they just suddenly vanish? Oh, sweetie. I would never vanish when you got close. Because I'm not real to begin with. You just need to start taking your medication. Chad, if you haven't taken your schizophrenic medication yet, maybe you should. I'm looking at you. Take your pills. God. It's going to be stuck here forever. Just because y'all won't take your pills. I am actually schizophrenic. Congratulations, Calypsy! I hope your experience is not horrible. No, but genuinely, I wish you nothing but the best. And I do hope meds help. I've heard there's all like sort of like techniques to know if what you're talking to is real or not. That's always fun to learn about, you know? I love the song. You only have mild hallucinations? I only do when I'm sleep deprived, but I haven't been that sleep deprived in a long time. Echo Rose, hello, hello, hello. How are you doing? As a creator of my own indie show, here are my main tips for those who want to make projects on their own. I'm not reading this. I forgot what I was doing. What was I doing? Oh, this whole stream is a hallucination. Well, yeah, no, but I don't see it. Only you see this stream. You specifically. Oh, God, I wish. If I could start my life, if I could go back 6 years, that'd be incredible. Just pretend all of this was... I mean, not the streaming. I like the streaming, chat. I do. I love all of you. I mean, like, look at you. Especially you. Wait, who am I looking at? Who's this? Wait, is there eye tracking? Chat, if I look to the left, do I look left? I have eye tracking? Since when? Wait, what if I look down? Or up? I guess it didn't go up to up, but it goes left to right, right? I didn't know that. Chat, I was about to spend money on eye tracking. I was going to buy a full-on eye tracker thing for like $300 to $400 because I didn't like that my eyes didn't move, and I thought they were always looking forward. But apparently, no. Oh, no, Vanya, I would meet you again. Vanya, there's some friendships that are always meant to happen, and you're one of those. Hello, Angel Panda. I got distracted. I know, right? And like, that means I can do things I can do. Well, I can't see my eye tracking, chat. You can't see your eyes when you're looking at yourself. Because then I look at my own eyes and I turn, I'm like, oh, hey, why are my eyes moving? Oh, hey. I thought they just always looked forward. Huh? So no more $500 spending. But I do want to get a model that has insane eye tracking so I can do really stupid things. Enjoy cleaning your basement. Good luck. Hey, Keely, are you sick? Keely, are you sick? You're not sick, are you? Gotta make sure you're not working while you're sick. Because I've heard people be working when they sick. Keely. Come here, Keely. Come here. Speak. Woof, woof. Chat, Keely's not speaking. Okay, good. I'm glad. Enjoy your basement cleaning. I believe in you. Wait, I missed you. There you are. Good luck. I believe in you. Clean good. Bring me back any fun things that you find, okay? That's the worst part about cleaning, chat. Every time I want to clean... Thank you for the hydrate. I should not be drinking gin. Water. Anytime I clean, I start cleaning through stuff and I find something, I'm like, oh, this thing, I've been looking for this thing, and then I take it. Mix it. What do you mean mix it? I mean, with soda. Yeah, I'm mixing it with soda. That's... Oh, I'm not. Oh, well, I mean, it's like lime flavored gin. It's Seagram's Lime Twisted Gin. It's like one of the cheapest gins you can find. I'm like, I'm not gonna spend money to drink. So like, it mostly tastes like whatever. Have you seen the pine needle soda though? Oh, I want to try making that so badly, but like, you can't find a pine that hasn't been touched by like chemicals, so I'd have to go to the mountains. But I'm genuinely considering going to the mountains, yoinking a bunch of fucking pine needles, and just being like, let's go make pine needle soda. Because it looks fun. I've made soda before, but like, not that way. You can technically just make it with yeast, but then you know, like, have a yeasty taste, and I'm not sure I want that. I should try making alcohol. I don't have a clean enough space for alcohol. What am I talking about? If I were to try to make alcohol right now, it's gonna mold, and then I'm gonna drink and I'm gonna die. Actually, you know what? We're making alcohol, chat. It's fine. Oh, Dazzy, sweetie. Come on. You gotta... I mean... That's it? You sure? Oh, it's alright, baby. It's alright, baby. You're okay. Vanya, you shouldn't be drinking. Drinking is not good for emotions. No, we're not. No, Vanya. No. I care about you too much. You're not drinking. And I'm not really drinking either. I had a sip of gin. No, chat. Be healthy. Or I'm not doing drunken karaoke. I now have time to do that. But no, Vanya. No, you don't. You don't need it. You do not need it. What do you mean your liver treatment? No, Dazzy, we ain't walking past this. What do you mean your liver treatment? Is this what I get? Schlack gets people who steal signs. I have self-destructive alcoholics. Huh? The fuck do you mean your liver treatment was successful? No. That better have been a joke, Dazzy. You're making me really worried that you're just... Honey Bunch, do we need to get you therapy? Do I need to give you therapy? Here's my therapy. Feel your fucking feelings and don't drink just to suppress them, okay? Oh, thank God. Okay. Fucking don't Make me fucking worry. Hey, everyone, is everything okay now? Who knows? Mentally, I am broken. Oh, that's not what I wanted to say. Seasonal allergies. Oh, I know. I don't get them. I don't know if I get them. I might get them. Real though, real. Titties, damn. Oh, Pete got banned. Hey, I know them. I wonder what she got banned for. Oh shit, Spell, what happened? You want to talk about it? I mean, fuck it. I wonder what she got banned for. God, I know Peak. Peak's cool. I feel like she must just get reported. That's fair, Spell. Well, Spell, I wish you the best of luck. Therapy's good, though. Chat, you should definitely go to therapy. God, I can't believe Pete got banned. Hey. Aw. Oh, well, we'll find out later. I have chronic issues, like I can't do anything all day when allergies mix. Oh, that's awful. Who got banned? Oh, sorry. We've been rated by them a few times. Peak, P-E-K-E. I don't know if it's like, promoting an OnlyFans or something. That's the only thing I could think of, because they do an OnlyFans, but they're cool. I like them. I know they've had like some issues with some parasocialness about it. And I mean, like, they do porn. Like, you expect a sex worker to do sex work. That's what it is. It's fine. But they're cool. I like them. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if that's what they got banned for. Or maybe their titties were just too tittying. I kind of want to find out, though. Okay, but I know they have another channel. What was their other channel? I'm dead. So congrats. Yeah. What was the job bad? If the job was bad, congrats. If the job was something that you wanted to do, I'm so sorry. I wish you the best of luck, though, in finding your next job. And if I get distracted you, I'll be happy to do that. So I just got distracted by tits. Pollen, plant sex. The SMP. God, why am I on Twitter, chat? That's dick. This is why I don't look at Twitter anymore. I had to start unfollowing people because they were retweeting too much. I also like penis. Hey, I like the titty and the man titty. Okay? Like, understand. I'm a man of varied taste, okay? I have quite a few different things I enjoy. Don't put me into the thing, It's what it is. Anyways, what am I doing? I was gonna say something. My brain is gone now. I am a man of culture and taste. Thank you. Oh, Twitter. I get so annoyed with Twitter. Oh, shit. Yeah, I get you, Spell. Okay. So, but yeah, the amount of people who like retweet just like really sexual things all the time, I'm just like, that's just kind of annoying when I'm following you for you, not your tastes in adult images. Thank you. And I just have to keep on following people. Here's what it is, though. Thank you, Desi. You'll be good. Uh-huh. Do 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 do. Interesting. Yeah, I'm just not interacting with anybody anymore. That's a question I ask myself every day. I'm just not interacting with people on in VTuber spaces anymore. I love being a VTuber. I love this so much, but Oh, hi, Dorf. Dorf, what are you doing? Dorf, I don't know what time zone you are. I'm always surprised when you're here because you're here at random times, and it has not made sense to me yet. Oh, what are you celebrating? Here, cheers. Mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm. That was water, chat. Shot of water. You're gonna squish me? Don't squish me. Don't squish me, chat. Not allowed. Not allowed. Anyways, I just was really wanting to, just do a refresh of, last stream. It didn't end the best. It kind of got cut short, and now, here we are. Doing a little bit better. Mm-hmm. Oh, that makes sense. 2 jumps and a bunch of other stuff. So, yeah. I might be getting a second job, chat. Woo! And then I would never have time off. Because it's going to be Monday through Friday for my normal job. And then, Saturday, Sunday for my part-time job. And then I'll have so much more money. Hypothetically. I'm hoping to have, another, chunk on top of that. Not a whole paycheck, but, half an extra paycheck. That'd be so nice. Hello, Gramps the dog. How you doing? Yeah, I wish I could hand check, but I don't have hands that will track. Don't be workaholic. Oh, but Boku, I need the money to do stream stuff. I want to be 3D in VR with VR tracking. I want to be a villain. And this right here, he's not villainous. This is an e-boy, chat. I'm sorry. This is hard to be a villain with this. I mean, look at this man. Look at him. Does this strike fear into your hearts? No. I mean, unless, you're a person who's afraid to be flirted with. You'd legit cry. What if this was me? What do you mean? What would make you cry about this? There's nothing terrifying about this. If that's you, I'm running. If this is me, why? Wait! Make you this is. It's a fuck boy, but anything to be scared of. Most definitely not. Exactly. Easy dog. This can't be a villain. Exactly. Imagine if I was and here's the face of the man who killed 30 men during last night's psychopathic rage, and it's just me going. Or make it worse. Are you going to be scared of that? Are you going to be scared of that? Really? You could punt that. You could punt me right now. Not saying that my new model is going to be any better, but... Oh, so you're afraid of tall people. I got it. So all I got to do is go. And just loom above you. Wait. No, sorry, it would be like this. Are you scared yet? Oh, shit. Don't bonk me. Why would you bonk me? Ain't no reason to bonk me, huh? Okay. You only bonk me. I'm a good guy. Well, no, the villain. Okay, yeah, but I'm not in a Korean manhwa. And I have normal sized, well... I have normal sized hands. Exactly. I give very warm hugs. I mean, right now I'm very sweaty because I haven't run my AC all day. And my computer pumps out heat like that's its full-time job. So, I'm not in the best space right now. But hey, That's just a theory, a game theory. Thanks for watching. And then I end stream. Just kidding. Imagine though. I'm also naturally furnace. Oh, we'd be the worst pair. I need somebody who's like freezing cold all the time. Somebody I could just use it like ice. Just like come to me and be like, take my heat, please. I don't want to be warm. It's so bad. I hate being warm all the time. But then I go out in the cold and I'm just like, ugh, cold, gross. My body's already naturally warm, so the cold just hurts worse. All I wanna do is see you turn into a giant woman, a giant woman. All I wanna be is someone who gets to see a giant woman. I gotta look at the lyrics in a second. Great chat. This is gonna happen now. All I wanna do is see you turn into a giant woman, a giant woman. All I wanna be is someone who gets to see a giant woman. All I wanna do is all I wanna do is help you turn into giant woman, a giant woman. All I wanna be someone who gets to see a giant woman. Oh, I know it will be great, and I just can't wait to see the person you are together. And if you give it a chance, you could do a huge dance, because you are a giant woman. You might even like being together, and if you don't, it won't be forever. But if it were me, I'd really want to be a giant woman, a giant woman. All I want to do is see you turn into a giant woman. I love it. I love it. Sounds feeder coded. I like this song. I like it a lot. Or the on a tropical island underneath the molten lava moon, hanging with the hula dancers, asking questions cause I got all the answers. Putting on lotion, sitting by the ocean, rubbing it on my body, rubbing it on my body. Get me out of this cage, cause it's nothing but a gladiator grave. And if I stick to the plan, I think I'll turn into a lava man. I think I'll turn into a lava man. I love that song. And here's the song. You ready? I think it's it. That's not it. All right. That's not it. Where is it? Is it this one? Not that one. God, I need to find the song. Get me out of this cage, cause it's nothing but a gladiator grave. Is this it? There it is! Yay! Underneath the molten lava moon, hanging with the hula dancers, asking questions cause they got all the answers. Putting on lotion, sitting by the ocean, rubbing on my body, rubbing it on my body. Get me out of this cage, cause it's nothing but a gladiator grave. And if I stick to the plan, I think I'll turn into a lava man. I think I'll turn into a lava man. It's fun. I like that one. Hello, M31 Andromeda Galaxy. Feels like a web. Ah, come here. Come here. You're stuck now. Now I gotta slip out your insides. Sorry, chat, this entire time I've actually been a spider. I know, surprising. Can you believe it? Oh, there's a delay between the audios. Is Gene really offbeat? Fuck you. Fuck you! On a tropical island underneath the mountain of a moon, hanging with the hula down. I'm kidding, you're fine. Dancing on a da. Burning all lotions in by the ocean, rubbing on my body. Spider, it's me, I'm Spider. Actually, you know, I'm gonna sing songs then without music in the background because apparently it's delayed, and now I'm self-conscious about it. Okay, where is it? Oh, I don't want to look at actually spiders. No, I'm self-conscious about it now. There's a world outside of these crumbling walls where the weak men hide in the battling bras, and the only pride is a spider that crawls into the cracks and calmly waits for the flies to realize as they sit in the shit and dirt that their heads all ache and their bellies all hurt, that there's nothing that can save neither drink nor skirt, for the disease has proven fatal and spreading. But the spider... No, I mean, I'm gonna sing still. I'm just not gonna sing with music in the background. Okay. Oh, God, I want to see if there's a song. Okay, so there's one song that I have to do a cover of, chat. I don't know if I can hit the notes. I'm terrified that I'm not going to be able to hit the notes when I have to sing it. Okay, let's see. It goes, Andromeda. I listen to heavy metal, I listen to hard rap, I listen to black metal, I listen to funk, I listen to smooth jazz, I listen to alternative, I listen to covers of music from cartoons, I listen to gothic industrial, I listen to music that's only made by fucking, I listen to hardcore trap, I listen to fucking everything. Country, southern, I have it all. I've listened to music that was made with just mostly the sound of fucking. Yeah. Experimental noise gets into unique places. So yes. Bruh. Okay. God, I don't know if I can hit this right now. How does it go? So, sing once again with me, a strange duet. My power over you grows stronger yet. And though you turn from me... That's too low, I have to go higher. Sing once again with me, a strange duet. My power over you grows stronger yet. But I can't sing it when I'm sitting down. And though you turn from me to glance behind, the phantom of the opera is here, inside your mind. I think I have to go higher than that. Still. But I have to be standing, and I don't want to stand. Ah! Sing once again with me, a strange duet. My power over you grows stronger yet. And though you turn from me to glance behind, the phantom of the opera is here, inside your mind. I don't know if it needs to go higher than that, though. What do you think? We'll see, though. We'll have to listen. 1 second. I hate the whole intro part. More passion? Yeah, I'll do more passion when I'm standing. I also don't want to fuck up my vocal cords before I have to do it again. Yeah. It is a thing, though, of right now I can't get too much louder than I currently am. When I do it at singing practice, I'm allowed to get a lot more loud. And I stand instead of sitting down. I think I'll give it one more Friday. But what I can do is Thunderbringer. When I'm not sitting. Thunder, bring her to the ringer. That one's fun. That one's the next cover I'm gonna do after this one. That one is a lot easier to hit. Thunder, bring her through the ringer. Show her I'm the something. Hello, Abba. How you doing, Abba Snail? What is up? What is up? We're just fucking around right now. Da 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 la da 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 da. Titties. But yes, how you doing, Abba Snail? Chat, if I could sing any song for you, what song would you want me to sing? Besides Reptile. Why? Really? Hey! That's what I've been doing. Well, I've been trying to do. But I gotta do a recording of it, and so I gotta let my vocals heal. I mean, I can go all the... Wait, my voice? What do you... Huh? I mean, you've heard my... I can go... Well, what's here? It's me. I am a man who has many brands. And everything I do is just absolutely fantastic. And I can go up here and I can be all like this if I wanted to. I mean, it's really not that fucking hard. You just fuck around where you want to put your voice. And then you can go up here and I can be like this and I can be all the way up here. It's, you know, it is what it is. Not a lullaby. I don't want to sleep. Okay, got it. Frère Jacques, dormez-vous. I can't do French. See, that's the thing. Okay, here's you got to breathe in with the diaphragm, right? But like the position I'm in, like I have to, yeah, and then we can go. But I can't do it while I'm sitting in this chair. This chair is the worst. Yes, by the way, chat, I'm blaming everything else except my incapability of singing, okay? So you just don't blame me. But and then you know what else we're gonna do? Oh god, I froze. Help! Okay, the other thing I'm gonna do is this one. You ready? No. Well, what have we here? Santa Claus, huh? Ooh, I'm really scared. So you're the one they're talking about. You're joking. I can't believe my eyes. You're joking. You gotta be. This can't be the right guy. He's ugly. He's ancient. I don't know which is worse. I might just split a seam now if I don't die laughing first. Mr. Oogie Boogie say there's trouble close at hand. You better pay attention now, because I'm the boogeyman. Whoa, I'm the Oogie Boogie Man. Yeah, that one's gonna be fun. You refuse to believe you're this talented. At what? What am I talented at? Coin-operated boy sitting on a shelf. He is but a toy. That I turn him on, and he comes to life. Automatic joy. That is why I want a coin-operated boy. Made of plastic and elastic. He is rubber and long-lasting. Who could ever ask for more? You see, I can't push out. I can't. What if I'm... Who could ever ask for more? That's what I need. You gotta hold the fucking notes. If you don't hold the notes, it doesn't come through. And that's what I kept getting told, that I'm like, I'm running out of air too soon. And that's why I gotta stand up. There you go. Many faces and ways to choose from. I could never let Your voice is singer's wildest dreams. And you know what's funny, chat? Wait. Fuck. Okay, can I... Where can I do this? If I turn the camera up, can I stand? Let's find out. Yeah. Okay. Does it see me? Chat. We're gonna flip it up so it looks at me. Okay, kind of. And I'll do. Here I go again. I'm breaking out. I'm shutting down now. Inside, outside, decommission. Wonder if it's painful. Reading love and writing love, technically the same. I am a living thing. I am not a human being. I'm live, I'm live. And then it goes off. And it goes. People, why just talk about it? Can't we live without all these bounds of society? Make believe. People, you got to really believe it, brother. There's no disagreement. The stage of society is make believe. Hey, kids, what you do, what you think you'll do, and I say, pardon me, I'm dancing for no reason. La da 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 da. La da 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 da. It's fun. I mean, they're all just different voices, right? And we could do the Billy Brown had lived an ordinary life, 2 kids, a dog, and a cautionary wife. And while it was all going according to plan, then Billy Brown fell in love with another man. He met his lover almost every single day, making excuses for his dodgy holiday, onto religion that he said newly found. Oh. Something. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun. They're just different voices. They're different character voices. You just, you find the place for it. I'm a wind-up toy with an up-down. Actually, that's what I want to do. We're going to do Toy Boy chat. I'm not drunk. I'm very sober. I'm having a lot of fun. There's no drunkenness right now. I'm maybe on dopamine. You ready, chat? I'm a wind-up toy in an up-down world. If you leave me all alone, I'll make a mess for sure. I've a heart of gold in the smallest size. Leave me in the dark, you'll never hear me cry. More than an illustration, points of articulation come to life on a brass spring. Such a wonderful plaything. It's a cruel cross that I have to bear. If you come a little closer, going to pull your hair. More than just a toy in a patch blue suit. Hold me in your arms, I'm just a boy like you. But your mama thought there was something wrong. Didn't want you sleeping with a boy too long. It's a serious thing in a grown-up world. Maybe you'd be better with a Barbie girl. This is me mostly sober. I'm not drunk at all. Dwarf, do I seem drunk right now? Do I legitimately seem drunk? I've not really drank much. I mean, like, the camera's breaking. Like, if this is, the energy's off right now, then, I mean, I'll just, we can just call it here. Yeah. No, I don't. Do you mean this is a good stream or a bad stream? That's what I'm wanting to know, Dwarf. It's fine either way. I get it. Nah, but it's fine. Oh, no. No, it's definitely fine. I'm But yeah, that's just one of the songs I like doing, because it's reminds me of this this gothic. Okay, so it's really fucking weird. There's this thing called, I think it's called the Plucker. The Plucker. Dazzy, no drinking. Thank you. I don't really celebrate it, but I appreciate it. I don't know if you've ever seen the Plucker. It's written by Brahm, and it's insane, like, gothic art, and it's about, like, some sort of voodoo shit that's happening, and this jester character is trying to save all the toys, basically, while the toys are being, like, connected in with this kid's soul. It's crazy. And the art is incredible. I mean, like, damn. I hope that Brahm is a good guy because I like a lot of his stuff that he's done, especially like all the art. So I'm like, ugh, if he turns out to be a bad guy, because you know so many people do with that art style, that it's just, you know, yeah. Hydrate. Yeah. Do I have water still? I think I'm out of my main water. Mm-hmm. Where the fuck is my... Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, thank God. Okay. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. No. My water... Who was sideways. Luckily, it was tilted up a little bit. Because I put some G-Sumps in this here earlier. And so the water has this bluish tint. And so, like, it was on one of my dress shirts. And I'm like, oh, shit, did I just stain one of my dress shirts blue? Like, that's one of my work shirts. I need those. Eesh. Yeah, that is what it is. Oh, because it was on the floor. So I have a gallon jug that I fill up with water, like, regularly. That way I can keep track of my water. Because, you know, I tend not to drink if the water's not next to me. And so I'd set it next up to me on the ground. And then I threw my shirts that I had hanging on the chair earlier off of the chair, and they hit the bottle. So I guess that they must have knocked it down when I wasn't paying attention. Or the shirt was covered and I just didn't see it, you know? I wonder if I can hit that. We're going to try this one. But God, I'm not a bad singer. I will admit I can kind of sort of sing. I'm a decent singer, not the best. I have a lot of issues with like my ability to sing, but like, you know, can I get sentimental for a little bit, chat? My family, like half of my family, are like trained singers. like long-term trained singers. My father's an amazing singer and has like been recording music since he was like young. My grandmother was like running like a church choir, and she was professionally trained and had sung with like people like off-Broadway people. My like one cousins were all like professionally trained, while my other cousins were all church trained. They all had these incredible voices. I was always like the black sheep of like I was like too nervous to like do anything, and so I never really learned how to sing. And so like all of this is just shit that I kind of picked up over time, and that's why I do a lot of it wrong. And so like I don't like my singing a lot, and that's why like I feel like I'm behind in a lot that I wish I was better at. Yeah, and like it's everything that I wanted to do, my family was always better at. I wanted to do art for a while. My little sister was like trained and does amazing, and she also went to like some voice acting thingy. My dad recorded music, and he also did tech, and so it was like anything I got into, they always had a reason, like had the final say on things, and like you had to trust them on everything. And so it was really hard for me to kind of find my own place. Huh? And then I found it in my writing mostly. They still try to like butt in on that, and I was the writer, but I want to, you know, sing. Can they stream like me? No, but I also don't let them come by my stream. This is the one thing that I have to myself. And but to be fair, even I'm not the best streamer in the world, you know, chat. Like, I mean, who quit stream early just because they got a little sad because of a comment, or who like is streaming in the middle of the night with no plan, doing whatever the fuck this is? Yeah. Okay. She spreads herself wide open to let the insects in. She leaves a trail of honey to show me where she's been. Gene, depression's a thing. Man, you're human. It's chilling. And I'm not even depressed. I know what depression feels like. I was depressed for a while. Okay, fine. I have occasional bouts of depression, but like we're being real with you. We're being real with you. We're being fully real. I got out of a 4-year relationship very recently, and it went awfully. My fault. I mean, I can't lie. It was my fault. But like, having somebody that's always there for 4 years, being with somebody, living with them for 4 years, and then, going out and being completely on your own in a state where you have no friends because they were the one who had all the friends, kind of really sucks. Yeah. So that's why I'm here now. But it is, it is what it is. It's fine. It's fine. And that's also like why I just don't date now. And the one time people have been like trying to get in my DMs, flirting with me and being like, people got upset that I didn't give back to them the same like emotions they were giving me. I'm just like, honey bunch, I can't start a relationship right now. And I'm not going to date somebody who comes into my DMs out of nowhere and sees this as who I am. Because, I mean, this is me. I act like this regularly. But I'm going to be honest with you, chat, right now. I might have responded to oil pictures. I would respond to oil pictures. Just being original. Fucking, I don't want people to be like, hey, I want to fuck you. I want people to be like, hey, here's something very cool and interesting. Or, hey, I thought of you. Share this thing with me. That is the fucking way to get relationships, chat. Not being like, I'm horny and you have a sexy voice, but being like, hey, I saw this Twitter post and it was funny. What do you think of it? That shit hits. She has the blood of a reptile just underneath her skin. Genuinely, okay. I don't know if Vanya's still here, but I'm going to out them for something. Vanya, I was on, right after everything had gone down, I've been friends with Vanya for a little bit. I was on TikTok, and oh my God, the TikTok algorithm is the best, worst thing for you ever. TikTok is the best, worst thing for you ever. Because I went on to TikTok and it's like, I see you responded to one sad post. Here's everything telling you that you did wrong and you're the worst person in the entire world. Oh my God, does that hurt? And you can't stop because it's so addicting to have the feeling repeated to you over and over and over and over. And then you're just fucking depressed at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday. But Vanya came to me. Oh, no, you're fine, Dazzy. Vanya came and started sending me, the goofiest TikToks and, all the, the funniest, most chaotic things. Especially the things of, this is for a gay boy in your life. What's up, gay boy? And it, pulled me out of it. It genuinely pulled me out of all the funk. And I just, instead of, looking at TikTok, I just went through the TikToks Vanya had sent me and scrolled through them. And I'm like, this is a better FYP. Vanya's curating my FYP now. And it fixed my FYP, by the way. And every once in a while, I'll fuck up again and I'll go back to the Vanya's DMs and just start scrolling because it just kind of resets me. Hi, Vanya. How you doing? Genuinely. Actually, I did get their permission one day to show you all some of the stuff they send me because it is great. It's amazing. And I think it'd be really fun just to go through it on stream. But yeah. Oh, where's doing this one? But what other song should I do? Get brain rot. Exactly. It's good brain rot. It's top tier. It's original brain rot. It's the best brain rot. She spreads herself wide open to let the insects in. She leaves a trail of honey to show me where she's been. She has the blood of a reptile just underneath her skin. Seeds from 1,000 others drip down from within. Is it? Wait. I have it. You ready? I'm gonna sing a song to y'all in chat. Vanya, don't stop me. My neighbor asked me why I'm limping down the way and who that fellow was who came by yesterday. I quickly turn my face before I start to blush, 'cause frankly there's nothing I can say. I've always had a thing for pushing the extremes. Hey, Arctic. I've just got a thing you won't find in magazines. The molded silicone has got me begging, please give me more of what I really need. 'Cause there's no cock like horse cock. Send your asshole into shock. You need horse cock, of course cock. Grab the lube and slam the day away. Was that the silly country song? Or I can sing a better one. You ready? You ready? You ready? Whenever life gets you down, leaves you wearing a frown, and the gravy train has left you behind. When you're all out of hope, down at the end of your rope, and nobody's there to throw you a line. If you ever feel so low you don't know which way to go, come on and take a walk in my shoes. Never worry about a thing, got the world on a string, 'cause I've got the cure for all of my blues. I take a look at my enormous penis and my troubles start melting away. I take a look at my enormous penis and the happy times are coming to stay. Well, I sing and I glance when I dance in my pants. I got a feeling like a sunshiny day. I take a look at my enormous penis. Boo-da-doo-da-doo-boo-da-doo-boo. Shut up, audio. Choke on your water. Oh yeah, baby. Gene, what? Oh, you should record some music then, Arctic. Can I get out now? No. Sorry, saying you're never allowed. Working on a laptop close to the end of a job I've been doing since half past 10. Out of me, that slows, and again the system has gone down, no. Down, no, down, no. I don't believe that it's frozen again. The system has gone down, no. I'm just gonna serenade you on the basement of a bunch of random songs. What other random songs do I know? Did you back up a few inches? I went walking with my mama one day when she warned me what people say. Live your life until love is found, 'cause love only gets you down. Take a look at a boy like me, never stood on my own 2 feet. Now I'm blue as I can be. Oh, bad girls get you down. Sing it! Sucking too hard on your lollipop, oh, love's gonna get you down. We gonna do Uno for funnies? Fuck, I'll play Uno. Sucking too hard on your lollipop, oh, love's gonna get you down. Zing, love, zing. I gotta find something that I actually want to sing, though. What do I want to sing, chat? Zing, love, oh, love's gonna get you down. Zing, love, oh, love's gonna get you down. Same person who did the... Walks into the room, feels like a big balloon, says, hey girls, you are beautiful. Diet Coke with a pizza, please. Diet Coke, I'm on my knees singing, big girls, you are beautiful. You take your skinny girl and multiply by 4. Now a whole lot of woman needs a whole lot more. Take yourself to the butterfly lounge, find yourself a big lady. Big boy, come on round and no, I don't know lots of lyrics. Two ways to get down, la da 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 da. I can't do Demon Slayer because I haven't seen it. So, I'm sorry. I refuse to listen to any of the songs until I actually have seen the thing. Hydrate? Fine. Water! People keep being like, hey, Gene, listen to the song from K-Pop Demon Hunter. No, I can't do it. I want to watch the movie. I want to hear them all first time with the thing. Everyone's like, here's something. No, not happening. I'm sorry. I'm gonna, you know what I'm gonna do? Chad, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm not fucking growing. God, if I was growing more than I would, I would be so upset. Can you imagine me fucking taller? 6'4" is a fantastic fucking height to be, but any taller than that is just, it's abysmal. Like, I want to be like, when we get a little goblin, I want to be a little goblin, just fucking gobbling around all over the place. You'll stream the movie? Bet. And we can do the Macho Man Randy Savage. I can't do Macho Man Randy Savage unless I do it without like prepping myself. Any voice that I want to do, I can't do. Oh God, it is kind of like Beetlejuice, isn't it? Beetlejuice. Yeah. Because la ta ta. Actually, stand up, bro. Where is it? Where is it? Where's the part? Where's it? Where is it? Oh, no, that's not it. Oh, where the fuck is it? Where the fuck is it? Where the fuck is it? Ah! Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. Because you're so smart, a stand-up bro. I think about you often, let you know, but I prefer my chances down below. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, be a doll. Being young and female doesn't mean that I'm an easy mark. I've been swimming with my piranhas, I don't need a shark. Yes, life sucks, but not that much. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, be a doll and spare the lecture. Have you ever heard that one? You don't want to be small, being small as hell? Chat, you know how hard hide and seek is? You know how hard hide and seek is, chat? It's so hard. And when I fall down, it's so much down. There's so much down, chat. There's too much down. I fall down, it's just all of it. All of it. All of it. It's just there. It's just gone. Have I heard Heather? I have not. What's Heather? Well, there's also there's the one that goes wherever you go, I won't be far to follow. Oh, I'm gonna love you so. You'll learn what I already know. I love you means you're never, ever, ever getting rid of me. That part. I like that. I like that one. I don't know what that's from, but I love it. Hello, Black Silver. How are you doing? You have to at least listen to the musical sometimes? Fine, I will. The waitress? Okay, Heather. Boo-hoo. At least you don't get trampled in crowded spaces. Well, you don't go in trampled spaces. Wait, that's from Heather? That's from Heather? Wherever you go, I won't be there far to follow. Oh, I'm gonna love you so. You'll learn what I already know. I love you means you're never, ever, ever getting rid of me. That's the musical? Ah! Amazing. Well then, you know. I actually know this is What's Inside song from Waitress. Okay, wait. Let's look up Heather's. Heather's musical. No, that's the one that goes the one that's he's slamming on the door, right? I don't remember what it is. I don't know what I'm doing. I got distracted again. Open the door, please. I've heard that one. Maybe. Wow. Wow. What do you think I used to do? As a kid, I would just sit around and make noises all the time. That's what you did. Oh, wow. Why not? You know? No, I'm not a whole I can't do that many. Gene is the animal kingdom. Oh, God, I wish. Can you imagine if I was the entire animal kingdom? I mean, I could be so many things. I could be like a squirrel, but I can't do like a little chittering noise. That's all I would do. It's not really a squirrel noise. It's just a little like wet mouth noise. But if I were to do any other voices, I mean, I can't think about it. Can you do a raccoon noise? Yeah, yo, it's me. I'm a fucking raccoon. Look at me. Look at me with my fuck ass mask and I'm about to fucking rub things with my little fucking thumbs. I'm a raccoon. So that's what I'm, you know, it's an impression I'm working on. But yeah. It's the same as my like Pikachu. Hey yo, look at me! It's me. I'm a little fucking yellow rat, and I got my little electric shit, and oh my god, it's fucking Ash Ketchum. It's Pikachu. Wow. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, this song. Yay! Dun, 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 dun. I've seen this musical, by the way. I don't know if you've seen this musical, but it's so good. Oh my god, is it good? Y'all know? Have you seen this? Have you seen this video? Actually, no. I can't watch videos. So if we start watching videos, I'm only gonna watch videos, and then we're gonna get stuck watching them. You should VA a T-Rex for Jack. Yeah, how the fuck would I do a T-Rex? I don't know what a T-Rex sounds like. Does anybody know what a T-Rex sounds? You know, all those noises are just like lions and shit that they've like tuned down and changed it. They chirp. How the fuck do you chirp? Just like tweet. I don't know how to chirp. How the fuck would you? How do you chirp? How does chirping work? Somebody explain to me how chirping works. Where's it in the throat? Rar means I love you in dinosaur. T-Rex is an elephant. No, anyways. Do say my name. I can't say it. I'm just gonna be Beetlejuice from now on. I'm just gonna be. Fuck, give me like 3 seconds. My brain is just like, hi, Gene, you've decided to overstimulate yourself by doing too much shit all the fucking time. I mean, all you really have to do is relax, calm yourself, be here with yourself. And now I'm just like, here. Oh, it's in the top front. What's in the top front? What, like a chirp? Is that what I'm doing? I just really don't know. But, you know, if I were to be here and I could be a little bit something else, then I would do that, but the lions in the Lion King were actually tigers. Oh, but why were they tigers? That if I was a tiger, who would I be? You need diaphragm support. For the little cheap noises. Okay, good to know. I wonder how I can go about this. Where would any other voice be? Don't overstim yourself, Gene. I can't do it, Chad. I might be going slightly manic. Give me a few seconds and we'll see where it ends up. But I and you and me, we can all be there together. Whatever. That's gin, Gene. Why are you grabbing gin? That's a horrible idea. That's the exact opposite of what you should do. Because lions don't sound... Do lions just go... I mean, like, you've heard my fucking demo reel before, right? You've heard my demo reel. I mean, right? We've sat down, we've listened to it together. Is that not something that we've done before? I mean, like, Black Silver. I could have sworn I showed it to you before. But I mean, like, if you want me to listen to it, and I can show you. I have the demo reel right here. It's so quick. We can play it right now. It gives you like a full fucking range of all the voices. Like, well, not a full range. I can go all over the fucking place. And then, but yeah, I mean, and that's why we can do like this as well. Or I can go up here and be all whiny, or I can go down here and just be like, oh, there you are. This is my first time I've seen you act like a crackhead. It's not helping that it's 4 a.m. I know! It's not helping me either! It's not 4 a.m. here, though. It's only like 8:49. Can you imagine where I am at 10 o'clock? I'm tired, honestly. but Chad, have you not heard my demo reel? Who hasn't heard my demo reel here? I mean, honestly, have you not? Do we have to go through it? I'll go through it right now. This is one of my favorite ones, actually. I like doing this one a lot. You know, kind of nasally, and then you can just hop up in here and you see, like, hey, this is all my stuff. Yeah, my demo reel. Come on. Please tell me you've heard it. You've not heard my demo reel. I'm going to play it. We're doing it. I don't think I'm going to make it. My legs hurt. Even my brain hurts.
Reversing the polarity will cause a cataclysmic reaction of... turn the dials right. Make device go boom.
I thought I'd left you dead in the desert. I mean, haunted by ghosts, ain't I? I guess I deserve it.
Good evening, fellow Mad Cats. DJ Fang is ready to spin more records. Coming up next, 12 commercials back to back. My favorite.
You made it. I didn't think you'd come. No one else has. Still, you seriously made my day. We are not taking any more party members. Wait, are you wearing a dead possum as a scarf?
Nah, she ain't dead. She's just scared. The poor sweetie pie.
Please, take a seat. Right here, by my side. Where you can't get away so easily. I am Nerd. Hear me roar. I can't really roar that well, but I'm trying, okay? Well, that's what the last guy thought. And you don't want to know what happened to him.
Do not be blinded by fear, my child. Embrace it. Welcome it. Let it pass. Remember, only you shall remain in the end.
You haven't heard that? You haven't seen that? You haven't? I mean, like, if we're talking about my normal voice, like, this is where I normally sit when I talk about things. It's, but I mean, I can sometimes just be like, like, hello, it's blah, blah, blah. Thank you for calling. What tech issue do you have today? Because, I work in IT. That's what I do. Yeah. Puppy. But I mean, like, first off, not a dog. Not a dog. I can be a lot of things, but I am most definitely not a dog. Not a cat either. I'm just Gene. See, I have human ears. What dog has human ears that you've ever seen? I know. Hello. God, thank you for calling. I'm here to help you. But I need to do more auditions and shit. And, do things and be things and blah, 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 blah. What, human has dog ears? What do you mean? I only see human ears. Huh? Where are the dog ears, huh? Wait. What dog ears? Huh? I've just been a guy this entire time, chat. Can you believe it? God, it looks so naked. I hate it. I hate it so fucking much. I mean, who allowed me to exist like this? Who? There we go. That's better. Nikki. Do you want to see the stupid Nikki thing? Wait. Can I find it? It's not actually Nikki. Relax, Fania. Where is it? Okay. I wanted to put on different clothes. And so I had to go through a few things here, and it took me a little while to find the right things, and so I disabled a lot of things, and it turns out, chat, would you like to know what's beneath my clothes? Would you like to see me? Would you like to see what's underneath my clothes? You ready? All right, I'm just gonna give me a second. Give me a second while I find it. It's here somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. There's a place that I dreamed of once in a lullaby. La da 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 da. Are you ready? This is gonna be awful. I'm so sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wrong button. No, did I do the wrong thing? Damn it, I fucked up. Well, oh, hey, glasses. Where did these come from? Where'd it go? That's the book. Damn it. Okay, we're gonna try again. Oh, that's why. Na 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 na. La da 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 da. Did I lose it? Na 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 na. Na 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 no 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 no. Oh, there it is. Found it. You ready, chat? Okay, you ready? You ready? It's about to get worse. It's about to get worse. You ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where are my titties? Who took my titties? I have no titties. Ah, help! Ah! Somebody stole them. And then we can do this. Hi, Dar. Oh, did I get rid of... Oh, wait, there's that. Oh, no, that's not... Oh, shit. I think I... Oh, God. Ah, it's gone. There it is. Okay. All right, we're back. I don't like this scene. 1 second. That is my fun scene. That is... Hello. Hello, chat. It's me. It's me, your host with the most, and I'm here to tell you several things. One of the things... wait. God, wait, what the hell was it? There's... No, that's not it. It's... Fuck. I try to remember how New Zealand goes. Because goddamn New Zealand's this. There it is. I like this one. This one's a lot of fun. You go up in the end. You go, no, that's more Australian. I can't do that. I wanted to be more of the, god damn it. Where the hell did the fucking New Zealander? New Zealanders is so much fun. I really enjoy it. Yeah, there, it's gone. There it is. All right, we're going to hold on here for a little while. And there it is. All right, there it is. We keep going up at the end. And it's very similar. You keep talking like this, and you go up. Because they always ask questions at the end of every sentence. Why they do that, I don't know. They just do it. They go back there, and they have it, and they'll do the thing. Remember, let your brain think before you rant, Gene. I refuse to let my brain think. I can't think. It's even worse. They took his pee-pee. I don't know. It went somewhere, but I don't know. It could be anywhere. Do you know where it did? I don't know. Remember to let your brain think before... Why? Did something happen? Did something happen? Was it something bad? Did I do something bad? Boku, did I do something bad? What'd I do? Did I do something? Did I do something bad? Sweetie. I know. What about ranting? You said let my brain think before you rant. What did I do? Boku, explain. I'm waiting. Boku. Oh. Remember to let your brain think before you rant. To make sure you don't overheat. What do you mean? I'm confused. And if I play, and if I night, da 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 da. You might say it's self-destructive. Da 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 da. That's what a song. You can tell from the scars on my arms and the cracks in my hips and... Wait, how's it go? God damn it. Haha, here it is. Oh, each morning I wake up, I die a little. Can barely stand on my feet. Take a look in the mirror and cry. Lord, what are you doing to me? I've spent all my years in believing you, but I can't get no relief. Oh, somebody
Somebody, can anybody find me somebody to love?
Oh, I can't do that.
He works hard every night. I try, but everybody wants him of me now. They say I'm going crazy.
Oh, whatever. But did it? You overheat, your brain goes. Rose a floating post without a neck. I know it happens sometimes. But did it? Why is your brain broken?
Find me somebody to love. 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 Somebody.
Damn. God damn, why do I have this account? All right, chat. It has been almost 2 hours. It is almost 9 p.m., which means that it's about time for me to go to bed. But before that, do I have a book? Can I read a book? My brain only broken half the time? That's fine.
This morning I get up, I cry. Get better stand on my feet. Take a look in the mirror and cry. La da 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 da. Ma ba na na ba na na ba na ba 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 da 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 na na da. Hi, Echo. Find me somebody to love. You works on every day.
What's up, Echo? Echo, you've missed all the voices I've been doing. I've been hopping all over the fucking place, doing all the voices. You know, going every fucking which way. But now, I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a flame in your heart.
Sleep well, Eric.
If I get my one and only desire, that would be you. No one else will do. I lost all ambition for worldly acclaim. I just want to be the one you love. And with your admission that you feel the same, I can be the one you're dreaming of. Believe me, I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a flame in your heart.
I don't want to set the world. I don't want to start a fire, baby. I just want to start a flame in your heart.
Oh, wait, we can do the one. Wait, I'll see if I can do it now. You ready?
Let me look at the lyrics. I'm going to wake somebody up. But that's okay. Bright as a damsel in distress, hiding away where only I can undress her. Trial she cannot to confess. In the end, it's all the same once I apply all the pressure. Thunder, bring her through the ringer. Show her I'm the judgment call, the one who makes a kingdom fall. Lightning, wield her, use and yield her. Show her what she can't conceal, her true nature will be revealed. Tell me, Odysseus, if I were to make you choose the lives of your men and crew or your own, why do I think they'd lose? Enlighten me, King of Ithaca, since hunger was far too great. I wonder who'd take the weight of the damned and suffer a gruesome fate. To the thunder, bring her to the ringer. Ears until you're deaf with fear. You spear, wait, sorry. And you spear you while your death is near. Lightning, wield her here to. Ah, fuck, I messed it up. It's fine.
Choose. Someone's got to die today. You have got the final day. You or your crew.
Please don't make me do this. No, it's high. It's, please can't hit that right now. I can't go from the
Down here.
to like way up there.
When does a comet become a meteor? When does a candle become a blaze? But anyways,
What was that about, price sheet site? What were you wanting? I mean, like, if you needed something, Raziel, bro, where the fuck is your price sheet? Oh, yeah, what's funny? Somebody was recently like, hey, Gene, why don't you do like voice acting on like VGen or something? I'm like, I don't think I can do that. Like, I don't know if I have enough voices for people to do that. But they're like, here's a VGen code. So I have a VGen code that they gave me specifically for that. I kind of wanted to give it away, but they're like, hey, you need to use it. So I'm like, okay, fuck. If I don't use it, then it's going to be kind of shitty. But like, I don't know. Should I do paid voice shit? I mean, I thought about doing horny shit, you know, just the whole like, oh, baby, you absolutely complete me. And like anything that you could possibly want, I would do in a fucking instant. But like, then I'm like, I don't really want to do horny shit all the time, you know? And it kind of, you know, it taints the vibe. Because that means that people will always come back here only for horny shit. Even if I can go from like this, I can go, well, you pathetic little thing. Oh, we can do oh, please. I mean, whatever you need, I got you. But you know, it's a whole thing. I might do it. The only thing that I would do it for is if I get hired to do like a dating sim or something. Like then I'll fucking do it. Like if it's a video game, fuck it. I'll go. I'll Hey, yo, I'll come on the mic. But it's only for a video game, okay? You know? There's a niche that I'm dying to fill. There's a niche I'm dying to fill. What? Yeah. I did actually audition for a dating sim, by the way. I did a bunch of voices. Hi, my name's Mike. God, I want to show you all the voices that I did for this game that I auditioned for. I haven't heard back from them yet, and I'm constantly like, hey guys, you think it'll be like 2 months? Have you chosen anybody yet? Can you like tell me no so that I can maybe, you know, show people the things I did? Because they weren't bad. No, I did solid, I think. The lightning. God damn it, I always get excited. I get so fucking excited. I'm like, casting call? There. Huh? Wait. Still nothing. I just want them to like deny me. Be like, hey Gene, you suck. Or be like, hey Gene, we think you're amazing. Please come here and just, you know, give us like your do voices for it. But they won't message me. Well, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. All right, we're gonna take a look at it again. Just kick me off the thing. Like be like, hey Gene, we think you're horrible or something. I don't want to wait anymore. Anyways, it's fine. Like job interviews, I don't really give a damn. Well, okay, if you don't have a job, definitely. But like, okay, so I'm. Hi everybody. You might be surprised, but I'm a little bit sensitive about my my voices, and a lot of times I feel like I'm not the best at doing a voice, and so, like, yeah. And all I know is that I've been shortlisted for this. All I've done know is I've been shortlisted for this audio part. And they had me on. Okay, so there was like 9 parts. Okay, there was 9 parts, or like 9 or 10, and they had me audition for like 5 or 7 of them. 5 or 6 of them. Actually, let me take a look. What is this? Oh no, that one can't do that one. But yeah. Wait the whole I thought about doing that actually. You know what I want to do? I want to do the swan song, but I don't know if I can hit the girls part. Oh, hi, Elrica. Sorry, we're doing a thing. It's the one that goes, the ship it swinged, evo, and many da. Wait, it goes. So the guys part It goes, the ship it swayed, heave-ho, heave-ho, on a dark and stormy blue, and I held tight to the captain's might as he pulled up his screws. But then the girl is all, the ship it swayed, heave-ho, heave-ho, on the dark and stormy blue, and I held tight to the captain's might as he pulled up his screws. You haven't slept, heave-ho, he said, in many suns and moons. Oh, I will sleep when we reach the shore and pray we get there soon. He said, now hush, love, here's your gown. There's the bed, lanterns down, but I don't want to go to sleep. In all my dreams I drown. The captain howled, heave-ho, heave-ho, and tied me. And then it goes, because this part, like, I like the part where it goes, the captain howled, heave-ho, heave-ho, and tied me up in sheets. A storm is brewing in the south. It's time to go to sleep. Its berth it rocked, heave-ho, heave-ho. The ocean gnashed and moaned. Like Jonah will be swallowed whole and spat back teeth and bone. But she has the part that goes, Captain, Captain, I will do your chores. I will warm your cot at night and mop your cabin floors. Scold me, hold me, I'll be yours to keep. The only thing I beg of you, don't make me go to sleep. Because you could do I could possibly do both of them. But then, you know what I'd really want to be able to do is the... Wait, this one, because I don't know if I can hit it. I think I can do, like, the voice for it, so we'll see. He goes, so you think you'll look bad, your back's against the wall, your whole existence fucking hopeless, you feeling filthy as a dive bar bathroom stall. I actually need to listen to the lyrics to that one. Give me a second. One second. But... You're a loser, baby, loser, goddamn baby. You're a fucked up little whiny bitch, a loser just like me. You're a screw loose boozer, and only 1-star reviewer. You're a power bottom at rock bottom, but you got company. There was a time I thought I can't remember how that part goes. It goes, I sold my soul to a psychopathic freak. And you think that makes you unique? And I can potentially go up the high enough, but you have to fucking strain it. It's so hard to strain it. I got an appetite for sampling every drug and sex toy I can find. I got no holes left to deflower. I sold my soul to save my power. Did it a bit, yeah. And I'd have to listen to the song. So should we see? I don't know if it's gonna sing. I don't know if it's gonna sync. How badly is it right now? And your back's against the wall. Is the syncing bad? Because if it's bad, I'll listen to it myself and I can sing along with it. It's great. Okay. Surrender, bliss. You've lost your way. Think you're efficient. 1 second. Let me say you're correct. You're a loser, baby, a loser, goddamn baby. You're a fucked up little whiny bitch, a loser just like me. You're a screw loose boozer, and only 1-star reviewer. You're a bottom at rock bottom, but you've got company. There was a time I thought that no one could relate to the gruesome ways in which I'm damaged. Hi, Vanya, and hello, Night Blossom. Thank you for the raid. Sometimes hit you straight. We're living and the same shit sandwich. I sold my soul to a psychopathic freak. And you think that makes you unique? We're both losers, baby, losers. It's okay to be a coked up dick sucking hoe. Baby, that's fine by me. I'm a loser, honey, a smoozer, and a dummy. That's just how I liking it. Because he fucking strains the fuck out of his voice. Anyways, that's fun. Hi, sorry everybody. I'm kind of just vibing. Hello everybody, how you doing? Lovely to see you. What were you doing? What was stream? Was it good? Was it fun? Did you have a good time? I don't need to go to bed. I need to sing songs because that's who we are today. But yes, hello, Blood Vial. Lovely to meet you. Hello, Lord Weeb, and lovely to meet you. Playing Silent Hill 2. I hope you had fun. I'm not a big fan of the new one, but that one looks good. And hello, Junos. How you doing? Oh, Junos, thank you for the follow. And Lord, thank you for the follow. I really do appreciate it. I'm sorry none of you won, but maybe next time. You took a hiatus? Why'd you take a hiatus? Don't do that. It's so bad for you. I'm kidding. You do whatever you need. I took a 6-month hiatus. Who can I was going to say a word and I forgot what the word was. No, chat. I'm not just going I sold my soul to a psychopathic freak, and you think that makes you unique. Oh, 'cause you're Wi-Fi. Right. Oh, well. I hope it's better now. I think a song that's completely out of my range that I should sing. It is the... Hello, Irene Devil. How you doing? This song. We're gonna see if I can hit it all. There it is. It's not easy having yourself a good time. Greasing up those bets and betters, watching out they don't let her fucking kiss you both at the same time. Smells like something I've forgotten, curled up, died, and now it's rotten. I'm not a gangster tonight, don't wanna be a bad guy. I'm just a loner, baby, and now you've gotten my way. I can't decide whether you should live or die. Oh, you'll probably go to heaven. Please don't hang your head and cry. I wonder why my heart feels dead inside. It's cold and hard and petrified. Lock the doors and close the blinds. I'm going for a ride. It's a bitch convincing people to like you. If I stop now, call me a quitter. If flies were cats, you'd be a litter. Pleasing everyone isn't like you. Dancing jigs until I'm crippled. Slug 10 drinks, I won't get pickled. And that's, I think, as high as I can go right now. I fucking hate English. English is amazing. I speak it. It's my favorite language. It's not my favorite language. I prefer other languages. But it's a lot easier to do. Well, what have we here? Santa Claus, huh? Ooh, I'm really scared. So you're the one everybody's talking about. You're joking. I can't believe my eyes. You're joking. You gotta be. This can't be the right guy. He's ugly. He's ancient. I don't know which is worse. I might just split a scene now if I don't die laughing first. Mr. Oogie Boogie said there's trouble close at hand. You better pay attention now, 'cause I'm the boogeyman. Whoa, I'm the Oogie Boogie Man. I might just book a special batch of snake and spider soon. Don't you know the one thing that would make it oh so nice? A roly-poly Santa Claus to add a little spice. Whoa, whoa. What's my favorite language? Whoa, I'm the Oogie Boogie Man. Have you all heard Voice Play's version of that song? I mean, my God. Like this guy hits a note that I'm like, it's insane. I mean, like, the rest of it is great, right? This part, you go. Is this normal? Well, what have we here? Santa Claus, huh? Ooh, I'm really scared. So you're the one everybody's talking about. You're joking. I can't believe my eyes. You're joking. You gotta be. This can't be the right guy. He's ugly. It ain't. I don't know which worse. I might just put a seam now when it don't. I know how Geoff is pronounced. Mr. Oogie Boogie said there's trouble close to the hand. You better pay attention now, 'cause I'm the boogeyman. And if you aren't taken, there's something really wrong, 'cause this may be the last time you hear the boogie song. Whoa. I'm the Oogie
boogeyman.
I might just cook a special batch of snake and spider stew.
And don't you know the one thing that would make this so wise? A roly-poly Santa Claus to add a little spice.
Whoa, whoa,
Whoa,
I'm the Oogie Boogie Man.
God, fucking Jeff. I mean, like you. No, but watch him drop. Watch him drop. I can't hit that at all.
You're joking. I can't believe my ears. I'm drowning in my tears.
you really are too much.
Now, with you existing, I'm gonna do my stuff. Best I can. Hit it.
The sound of rolling dice in me. 'Cause I'm a dancing boogeyman, although I don't play fair. With lives on the line.
Not mine, of course, but yours, oh boy. Now that'll be just fine. You might have to answer for your heinous act. Oh, brother, you're something. You put me in a spin.
You are complicating the position that you're in. You're finished. Really, I don't care.
And you ain't going nowhere.
I can't hit that. You have to like go in it with more. No, but here comes chat. Listen, here. Ready?
The Oogie Boogie.
What the fuck is that? Who allowed him to do that? Who allowed him to come out here and do that? I mean, come on. Who said that was okay? You can't. That's a foghorn. That's a fucking foghorn. No.
And the Oogie Boogie Man, the Oogie Boogie.
What the fuck is that?
Apparently, like my father watched him talk about it at one point, and he's like something with like body positioning and stuff. But
Holy fuck! What? Why?
okay. Anyways, Hi chat. How's everybody doing? We're gonna do a little test. Anybody here? Anybody around? I missed. Don't worry though, chat. I will go to sleep the normal time I actually go to sleep. I'll go to sleep immediately after this. No clicker.
Get your attention drawn back in.
Chat, you quit flattering me, and I'm very disappointed with you. I'm disappointed. Nobody's flattered me in a little while. Being like, oh my God, Gene, your voice is cool, which was so flattering and made me very happy. And now everybody's just listening to me be so silly and goofy. And is that it, chat? Is that it? I haven't been goofy enough for you. It's fine. I get it. Thank you. That's what we needed. Yay. I'm much better. God, you're so I go. No fucking dare you. God. Anyways, I do need to be a little bit normal. I need to have that nice tender balance between voice acting and being goofy and, still having the, boy failure heartthrob vibes, okay? I can't wait until I become a villain. I want to be a villain so badly. It's going to be so much fun. Because then, then it's chaotic and crazy, and I get to be like all those things. I can be like Joker style, except worse, but better. No killing kids. That's my hard stop rule, honestly. Killing kids, like top number one of things I would not ever want to do. No murdering people. Like, I don't want to be Joker. I don't want to be the Joker, but I like having, like the crazy personality coming out and then, get around. We just throw things around all the place and it goes, I mean, really. If I were to really be like that, a villain with good balls. Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna have good balls. For the most part. No. The Riddler is smooth and clever, and I don't want to be clever. I want to be fucking stupid. You know what I do, chat? You know what I do? So, my My character rules things with luck. That's right. I have luck. I have luck for days. I have luck for days, except then the luck goes away. And I also have the void. We have the void, and I take the void, and I sew little dolls that look like little jesters, like little animal jesters. They're so cute. And then we take the void and we put them in there. And then they're on my fist or on my hands, and they go boom, 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 boom. And then I talk to them, and I hold up chat, and I go, "Hi, chat." Oh, chat. And then I throw it and hit it with a bat. Chat's gonna be so cute. It's so cute already. God, I can't wait to show it to you. You gonna be lucky girl? No, but there's no luck. Bad luck. My luck goes and it comes and it goes and it comes and it comes and it goes and it goes and it comes. Come. Come on the mic. How does that song go? Come on the mic. Got a new plug. My other guy sucks. Barely got a buzz off. $25. Got 200 and I got too much and I got new. I just want to be in a straitjacket. Come on the mic. There's a song that says "Come on the mic." I don't remember what it is. Wait a second. Wait a second. I pop a load on the couch. Aha, aha, ha, 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 ha. Yes, 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 yes. Run the jewels. Legend has it. This is it. This has it. I love this song. Chat, we're about to listen to some rap and hip hop. Yeah. Yeah. It's a good song. You ready? Wait for it. I'm waiting for the part. Wait. Wait, is this the wrong one? This might be the wrong one. I haven't seen Baywatch. Wait. It's the wrong song, chat. I think it's the wrong song. No. It was definitely a rap, though. I might have been by them or been, Welcome back, Addy. Welcome back. You missed all the singing, Addy. TJ. Round goes TJ. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, bum. Boom. Boom. All right, chat. Should I end the stream with the worst music that I love? Should we end the stream with the worst music that I love? The worst music that I love. Okay. You ready? Are you sure? Are you sure? You genuinely sure? Should we watch the music video? No, we're just gonna listen to it. Here we go. You ready? I love this music. But like, I will admit, it's not for everybody. It's for very few people. I'm gonna wait for it. But then they also do, okay, wait, where is it? I also like, I think it was this one. This one is one I love a lot. This one's a little bit more. Hi, Els. We're listening to Death Grips. But yes, that's the kind of weird stuff I like. Then we have everything from fucking Charlie's Inferno. Wish I'm who hi dizzy hello oh god huh, my brain he apparently going wish will eventually make you dizzy. Okay. I think my brain went. So, it might be time for me to go bed. Yeah, it's probably time to go to bed. I think it's time to go to bed. We've been here for a while. For the benefit of Mr. Kite, there will be a show today on trampolines. The Henderson is on. I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a flame in your heart. If I had my one and only desire, that would be you, no one else will do. I lost all admission for worldly acclaim. I just want to be the one you love, and with your condition, and you'll be okay, we need to find something to rate, though. Story of the seasons. Save a hose, ride a cowboy. Who's this? Titties. Hi. They look fun. Chat, you want to go see them play Red Dead? Go be nice. Say hi to them. Go like, wow, it's me, it's Lucky. And then blah, 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 blah. Okay. No. Da 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 la da 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 We just need a little like a no. Lucky raid. I think their model's cool, okay? So grab that lucky raid. And I will see you all later, okay? Tomorrow morning. In like a few hours, actually. We're gonna go to sleep soon. But say hi. Hi to me, okay? Mwah. 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 Hey, you're gay.